Hi everyone, we're going to be jumping into Adobe Illustrator today. What I'm going to do in this overview demo is just bring together some of the learnings you've seen from the other video tutorials and a couple things to watch out for to make yourself more enabled to produce some documents and not get caught up. Illustrator is a fantastic tool and it can be a little bit complex, a little bit different than Photoshop at first, but I actually prefer it. I find it a little bit more intuitive. Either way, here we go. So I'll start a new document. So it's File, New, or Control N. And of course, I want to give this a name here. We'll call it Test 01. I'm going to use letter document setup here. We can pick our A4 tablet, whatever. We can also make a custom size in inches. I'll just make it a typical 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. For now, I will leave the bleeds off and I will make sure that my color mode is in CMYK. All your projects will be, although we won't be required to print all of them, you will definitely be in print prep mode. So it's high res, pixels per inch is 300, CMYK mode. Just hit OK to that. One of the things I like best about Illustrator is this is my document here, this white area, but I have this what's called the scratch board or the kind of a whiteboard you can work off of on the side, unlike Photoshop. Let's draw some rudimentary shapes. Click on a nice square here, the rectangle tool. I will click and drag. Now, if I hold down the Shift key, it's called constraining proportions, and it keeps it as a perfect rectangle, perfect square here. I'll let go of that. Now, if you'll notice, it appears to not have a center, but actually it's white fill and a black stroke. Illustrator is based on stroke and fill. You can edit them individually or turn them off and on. The stroke and fill are located in the bottom right-hand corner of your tools over here. I'm going to change the stroke, the fill color here, something we can see while we're working. Make that a nice vivid, almost blaring kind of fuchsia pink. And I'll click back here. I can click the stroke here to change that here, or I could even click back over to this side here. I can invert these by swapping them, but I want to actually make my stroke here something green, and although I've changed it, and I can zoom in by hitting Control plus or using Z just like in Photoshop, hit the zoom tool. I can click or click and drag. I'll hit Control 1, brings it all just like in Photoshop, brings me back to full size. I really can't see the stroke for presentation purposes, so we'll pop over. I'll click the item to select it, make sure it is active, just like you would activate the layer in Photoshop. And I'll click on the stroke here, and I'll change the weight of the stroke. 1 point, I'll change this up to 10 points. And then we can see what we have here. So there I have a nice image here. I just click and drag. If I want to make it this thing larger, grab one of the corners or any of the path intersection pieces here, and I can just drag this way, back and forth. I'm going to hit Control Z twice to undo. It's substantially easier. You can just hit Control Z multiple times to go back many steps in Illustrator. If I wanted to constrain the proportions, again, hold down the Shift key. If I wanted to constrain the proportions where as I make this document bigger or larger, I would actually then be able to not only hold down the Shift key, which keeps me working in a true square. If I hold down the Alt key or the Option key on a Mac, it makes it bigger from the center. Like, where am I pulling it from is the best way to think about that. So there's one object here. I'll draw a quick circle, and using the ellipse tool, I'm going to reset this to black and white. All right, and I will just draw a circle here. Click, drag, Shift key to hold it as a true circle, Alt or Option to hold it pull from the beginning, from the middle. And there's my doc right here. Change my stroke, make this one also 10 points. Something we can see, and as you can see here, this is what it is. What I've done here is I've clicked on this element here, and you may get bumped out to what's called isolation mode. And what it does is Illustrator files can become very complex and robust, so it makes it so that your editing capabilities are currently you're only able to edit this particular area here on this particular object. Everything else still looks there, it exists, but you can't, if I click here, I can't actually move it. What's happened is it's changed up in the top left here for the path that I'm on. So let's go back to layer 1, and now I have complete and total editing capabilities. All right, that's not just in case you click on something and you realize, oh my God, I can't edit my entire document. You also have your layers palette here, which is always good to look at here. Pop into this. We're on layer 1. A couple other notes. Let's put on our rulers, which is Control or Command R. I pull down my guides here, just like I would in Photoshop. Say I want some guides to line some things up here. And if I expand my layer, I'll notice that the guides in Illustrator are actually in the layer set. I can still use Command or Control semicolon to turn them off, toggle them back on, but I can also turn them off individually. The guides that you may use in more complex Illustrator documents can become visually overwhelming, but this is a significantly different way of handling guides in Illustrator. Also, there is the options here for your guides down here. You want to hide them, do you want to lock them, because they are locked by default, so you actually can't move them. If I go to click on this here and then try to move it, I can't move it. So why is that happening? So it's view, guides, unlock them this way. So if I click on this element here, I can now move the guides. And to get rid of them, to truly get rid of them, as opposed to change their visibility, I can actually just click and drag them right off the screen. And I'm stuck in isolation mode, but that will happen for you. All right. Turn them off here. So I have two elements here, and the easiest way to do is to change the order of these. I can actually just come back in, change the order in the layers palette here. You can see what's in front, behind here, and we're good to go. So to edit these things, right now I've been using the Move tool or the Selection tool. Now this will get you to be able to transform and grab elements. What I'd like to do is be able to edit just a piece of this square. So I want to use the Direct Selection tool, which is keyboard shortcuts A. So if you walk away with anything from this, I'd like you to know how to do V for select, A for direct select. So I would click on the element here. I'll try to get from the A tool here, excuse me. Pop over here. Notice the arrow stays white. I can click on the anchor and actually click and then just drag the piece. I know it's been mentioned before in some of the other videos. I'd like to reiterate that frequently in Illustrator, it's easier to start off with some rudimentary, simple shapes and edit them as opposed to always drawing things from scratch. That will really depend on your situation and how you start developing your skills and what you'd like to work in Illustrator there. So I'm back here fully out of isolation mode, and I'm back here in layer 1. That should pretty much conclude the overview, and we'll get back into some assignments shortly.